The Marvel Cinematic Universe has faced criticism over the last few months for being a little aimless. During the Infinity Saga, everything was clearly building towards a single plotline, a single confrontation with a single big baddie. Everything that has happened was somehow related to the 6 Infinity Stones and the Mad Titan hunting them down to erase half the universe, and while certain movies were more focused on the main plot than others, they all somehow served the larger story going on in the background. However, following the end of the Infinity Saga, it looked like Marvel didn't have a solid plan, leading to a number of plot lines going on at the same time. At first, it seemed like we were going to be following some kind of SKRULL infiltration storyline at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, but then shows like Loki started introducing the multiverse concept, which was expanded upon in movies like Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. Since then, things have been confusing. But over the next year, we're going to start seeing things come together, a bit more focused, if you will, especially starting with Secret Invasion, set for release on Disney Plus next year. From that point forward, just about everything is going to tie into the main story in one way or another. We just recently got some leaks and intel from Marvel insiders that could give us a better look at where that main story is going. Welcome to the Chaos Multiverse, everybody. Chaos here. The voice is a little cracked right now, but I'm going to power through. Stick with me through this video because we are going to be talking about Secret Invasion and, yes, the Super SKRULL. Make sure you guys drop a like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And Secret Invasion has already been delayed a number of times. Each new delay seemingly coming with a new set of reshoots. But the studio seemed committed to getting this show out by the end of next year. And since the main MCU plot hinges on it, there's definitely a bit of a fire under the feet of the production team. I mean, think about it. There's always been a ton of MCU delays announced this year. But since everything that's going to be happening relies on the events of Secret Invasion, there's kind of a limit as to how many times the show can be pushed back for politics. In case you forgot, the ending of Spider-Man Far From Home revealed that the SKRULL had infiltrated the Marvel Universe in a pretty major way, impersonating Nick Fury for an unclear amount of time throughout the film and leaving things in a rather ambiguous place. Now the SKRULL kind of pieced out after a few years after that, and they're going to be returning as the main antagonist of the Secret Invasion, and Nick Fury is going to be our main protagonist. Not only is this going to be the first time Fury's the main character instead of somebody in the background, but it's also going to be the first time since Captain Marvel that the SKRULL was a real threat to our heroes. But this time around, it's going to be less about the action and explosions, more about strategy and paranoia, which is really cool. Hostile force starts influencing major events without anybody noticing. Think back to Winter Soldier and Civil War. Now, Disney Plus has already revealed a decent amount about the show, likely by accident. The service advertised the show as a major Marvel crossover event, the first time that a Disney Plus show is labeled anything like that. Previously, only movies like The Avengers were labeled as major crossovers, but since Secret Invasion is also being described as such, it seems that Marvel is expecting the show to impact the universe just as much as The Avengers movie would, which, that's exciting. Now, it's unclear just how many core Marvel cast members will appear, but a number of main names are confirmed. We've obviously got Samuel L. returning as Nick Fury. Martin Freeman and Don Cheadle are also going to be there in some capacity. Emilia Clarke from the Game of Thrones, that's going to be awesome, but you guys already knew all that. So why am I bringing you up to speed on all this? Well, because the major plot leak just came out that may have linked everything together in a way that we may not have seen coming and may actually reveal some insane spoilers. So spoiler alert. Take it all with a grain of salt because obviously nothing is confirmed. It's all subject to change, but also take this as a potential spoiler warning in the event that it ends up being true. So we're all on the same page. According to a recent report by The Direct, who tends to have some pretty reliable insider information on the MCU, actor Killian Scott will be playing a major character in Secret Invasion, a SKRULL named Fizz. Now, it would be awesome to see Fizz in live action. Fans are starting to dig back into the comics to learn more about his original appearance in the Secret Invasion arc, and that's where it gets spicy. In the source material, Fizz is actually a mutant SKRULL who can change sizes at will, and he has a close relationship with the X-Men. Now, that may not line up with the final direction of the show, but it's interesting that of all the SKRULL that Marvel Studios could have chosen to put in writing, they went with the one with the direct connection to the X-Men and the mutant community. Now, following more or less introductions of mutants to the MCU and Ms. Marvel, I don't think it's any coincidence that Secret Invasion is likely going to feature mutants to some degree. Now, Fizz also allegedly being a villain in the Secret Invasion show throws some things into question. Obviously, Marvel Studios aren't just going to adapt the comics without taking creative liberties, and I think it's very unlikely that Fizz's backstory is going to match the comics. Now, Killian Scott has now been officially cast in Secret Invasion, which grants a certain amount of legitimacy to the leak, but his role in the show is a secret. Marvel Studios has a number of new actors joining the project, but refusing to say who they're playing, which makes me think they're actually going to stick relatively close to the comic story. Think about it. If Marvel Studios was going to take a heavy creative liberty with the Secret Invasion story, they likely wouldn't care if people knew ahead of time what characters would be playing major roles. But if they're planning on sticking close to the comics arc, they would probably want to keep the exact character list a secret for as long as possible. That way people don't go up and look the original story and know what's happening. Now, I'm sure the comic arc is going to be a heavy influence on the show. I'm expecting Marvel to change a number of things in order to fit better with the MCU and accommodate whatever the studio's planning to do in the future, especially when it comes to Avengers 5 and 6. So since this leak came out, some sources have actually claimed that Killian Scott is going to be playing a different character named Kerr. If you know the comics, you probably remember the Meet the SKRULL series where he infiltrated Stark Industries, but some insiders have suggested that this arc from the comics is actually going to be one of the main story inspirations. Now, given how involved Stark Industries is in the world of the MCU, this would make sense. Perhaps they're going to take the original Secret Invasion storyline and add in some elements from Meet the SKRULL series in order to make things play out a little more natural. Now, obviously, they want to keep us on our toes, so we don't know what actually is happening, but one more interesting leak that came out is in regards to Kingsley Ben-Adir, who has actually been cast as Gravik, who is the leader of a group of rebel Skrulls. Now, this detail wasn't leaked. There was just something else that was, and I think it would be interesting. Originally, sources were claiming that Kingsley was going to be playing the Super Skrull who steals the Fantastic Four's powers in the comics. However, it's actually totally possible that this leak was correct, and then it had to be changed following the delay of the Fantastic Four movie, in case you weren't following. There's a lot of drama regarding the Four's first MCU movie, and it wasn't until relatively recently that it seemed to have gotten back on track. The film now has a director, solid release window, but it's coming much later than we originally thought. Since Secret Invasion has been in production for a long time, it's possible that Ben-Adir originally was going to be a Super Skrull, but things changed. I mean, there's all kinds of Super Skrulls in the comics, and they can take multiple people's powers. The Four were likely going to play a much larger role in the MCU in 2023, but since their movie's been pushed back to 2025, well, Marvel, they kind of have to reduce their presence in the next few projects so they don't leave people hanging. I mean, I wouldn't be the least bit shocked to hear that originally the Super Skrull was going to show up in Secret Invasion, but then he was cut or changed during the reshoots in order to make Fantastic Four's MCU introduction a little smoother. But that doesn't mean we're not going to get a Super Skrull. It just may not be connected to the Fantastic Four's arc. Overall, Secret Invasion is shaping up to be a very tense and very dramatic show. Now, I'm not sure how many cameos we should expect to see, but a lot of big-name actors are already signed on to the 6-episode miniseries, and I'm sure we're going to get plenty of crazy appearances that have been kept on the hush. Like I said, I'm expecting Secret Invasion to get kind of MCU as a whole back on track for the single larger story. Similar to how Ant-Man 3 is going to focus more on Kang and get everybody familiar with him. The Kang storyline and the Skrull storyline are likely going to happen at the same time, and then they're going to come together in the 5th and 6th Avengers movies. But when it comes to the story of the show, I think a lot seems to be coming out quickly. I'll keep you guys posted if anything new comes out so far. It looks like the Super Skrull and the Meet the SKRULL storylines are going to be influencing factors. So if you want to catch up on your Marvel history, check those arcs out. See what you think, because chances are you're going to see bits and pieces of both of those in Secret Invasion next year. And I really think this is the perfect opportunity to have a Super Skrull. But don't make him just like a one-off really, really fast and then somebody defeats him. Needs to be a big baddie. Maybe stick around for a little longer. I mean, a Super Skrull can grab multiple powers from people. The Fantastic Four, he had all 4 of their powers. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you soon.